the Dodgers won the World Series. I'm not really sure what that means, but I guess that's a good thing. And Jared is a big Dodgers fan, he told me. So congrats to Jared on their baseball team.
Dodgers.
Dodgers.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, fantastic. So, do you know if any of them play fantasy football?
They actually all do. They have a
Really?
fantasy league.
Yeah. Wow. I love the Dodgers. That's fantastic. Wow. They just sound like good guys. And they should listen to this, to Guys Being Dudes, Fantasy Football, for some great fantasy advice.
I agree.
What's better than this? Guys Being Dudes.
Welcome into Guys Being Dudes Fantasy Football. This is your host, Noah Obsol. As always, with me is Michael Smith, Jared Williams, and Kieran Day. I'm gonna get those pointing ready. If you're on the podcast, I just try to point to people on the Zoom. You guys know how hard that is. Up, down, right, left. Nobody knows. I had a fantastic fantasy week. This was a fun one. Guys, how's fantasy going? Michael, you look like we are in different moods. How you doing?
Well, last week I came on here and said I had my first 0-3 week. I was primed to have not first, but bounce back with a 3-0 week. All I needed was somewhere around 14 plus half PPR points from Allen Robinson and Robert Woods. And guess what? I got it. I had it.
There we go.
Let's go. The problem. McVay called a wide receiver sweep when the game was in hand. Robert Woods goes, and I lose. And Allen Robinson got back the fumble points and then gets hurt on the same play. Game over. So I lost that matchup. I can't complain, though. My team scored like 80 points. But to be fair, I missed a touchdown when Tyler Kroft tripped. I benched Deontay Johnson. Just a tough week in that league.
Yeah. All I heard is that you couldn't put up 140, and you really don't deserve to be in the league if you can't do that on a weekly basis like me. How about you, Jared? Kieran, how you guys doing?
Pretty good in one league where I have Rams defense. I've been undefeated since I claimed the Rams defense. And this is a running joke in this league where I added Rams defense and then my team just went off.
It's perfect.
So continuing the tradition, it's going well so far. Still need my boy Austin Eckler back. Other than that, it's okay though.
Yeah, for me, as it's been pretty well documented through my complaining in our chat as well as in our opening segments of this show, it's been
pretty
a really
sure
rough
most
season.
Of the population of the world knows that you're not doing great by now.
Yeah, but I did have my first 3-0 week this week of this season so far. Very short-handed, but I still pulled it out. Some close games, but it felt good. It reinvigorated this flame for fantasy football. I had to take a week off and just tend to my wounds for a little bit, but I'm back. I'm excited. I'm ready to get going.
Well, your boy went 5-1, 4-2 last week. So, this is the part of the season where Noah always heats up because the draft is really a lot of luck. But when it just comes to real skill and when you're in the paint, when you're on the line and you need to hit the guy in front of you, that's where I come out to play. But this is Guys Being Dudes Fantasy Football. You can follow us on Twitter @DudesFootball. We are on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook. I'm on
Facebook.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just started listing social medias and I got lost. But anyways, let's get into some fantasy news. CMC, greatest fantasy player of all time. Hold on.
Yeah.
There he is.
For the podcast, I have a CMC bobblehead I just shook for the YouTube audience. Hop on YouTube. And looks like he's not going to be starting this week on Thursday. Going to be next week. So, Kieran, you got one more week of Mike Davis. Thank God. But this interesting thing is we heard reports that Mike Davis will stay involved in the offense, and I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. I mean, CMC is injured. He's the guy that's going to be the backbone of their franchise for the next 10 years, hopefully. So, I mean, the team is decent. Every time I look at the Panthers, I'm like, that's not a good team, but they keep doing all right. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think CMC is going to just hop back into his, number one role in the league?
I think he won't get the 100% snap share that he was getting last season in terms of that coming back in. But I do feel that Mike Davis will have a role, maybe not a fantasy role, but he'll have a role for the Panthers in terms of winning games, being, a change of pace back, giving him some rest. I don't know if he's going to be someone you're going to toss in your flex or have any confidence playing, but you never know. With high ankle sprains, guys take a long time to come back from those. Look at Alvin Kamara and Saquon from last year. It took him a couple weeks to get back and revved up. So you never know. It's one of those things we're just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And then going on, there's a lot of trade rumors around the NFL right now. We're approaching the trade deadline, and one of you can pull up that date for me right now. That'd be great. And we have a lot of wide receiver to the Packers rumors, even rumors that Michael Thomas, will be traded. I mean, I don't know. Really think you can make many moves in anticipation of these trades. I think Will Fuller or Brandon Cooks will be leaving the Texans this season. And I think that the Packers will be acquiring, maybe not one of them, but somebody. Do you guys think that could this be the Packers strategy all along? Don't draft a receiver and just we'll figure it out later. We'll trade for one down the road. I don't know.
I think it could be.
It could be. Mike,
I don't know. I don't know if that's the strategy, because you could see a lot of times when people get traded for free agent wide receiver comes over, it takes a while to develop the rapport with the quarterback and the system.
Absolutely.
So I don't know but I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. They make some pretty horrible decisions.
I'd probably be a successful receiver with Rodgers.
Next Tuesday, trade deadline, November 3rd.
Thank you.
Ooh.
So we'll see about that. I'm really excited.
Trade deadline day.
Yeah.
What's more important?
You watching ESPN or CNN?
Well, I'm probably gonna do ESPN on the TV, CNN. I'll just look at my phone and see what updates are happening. Dez Bryant coming out of hiding.
Who?
What'd you say?
Dez Bryant to the Ravens practice squad.
I thought this was a fantasy show.
I don't know. It's just news. People like it.
Okay, yeah, let's clarify that. Do not add Dez Bryant. He's not fantasy relevant whatsoever right now.
And then this is big fantasy news. Odell Beckham Jr. torn ACL last week on a interception return. I guess really the only guy you want to find an interception return is DK Metcalf. Obviously, Odell didn't get that memo, but hope he gets better. But we're going to talk about the fantasy implications later. And then one thing I want to talk about real quick is something I've been working on for years. It's a strategy, and I think I've perfected it. And it's Noah's patented kicker strategy, otherwise known as NPKS. And what it is every week for waivers, you drop your kicker and pick up running back, receiver, tight end, even a quarterback. And then at the end of the week, you just screw over your league mates, drop the guy who is probably rosterable for whatever dumb kicker is going to be on your team this week to put up dumb field goals, and you win championships, okay? And that's the NPKS, excuse me.
I love it. I've actually been doing that too, just in the back of my head, except I picked up Young Hoku in a couple leagues.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't drop
Legend.
There's there's 2 or 3 guys, but honestly, the variability, for me, it doesn't matter. I feel like it's not that hard to predict decent games. I'm going to get 6 points at least every week from my kicker. Let's keep moving. Let's talk about, guys, I asked the team, what's one big thing you saw this week? And I just want to hear, what's one of your biggest fantasy implications about events this week?
Okay, I'll go first because I feel like one of you guys can piggyback off this, and that's the Patriots. And with the Patriots and Cam Newton, we saw after week 1, I saw people saying that Cam Newton would score upwards of 20 rushing touchdowns this year or more. That's where they set the over-under, and people were saying over. That's looking like that's not even close. He got benched, and he's taking down the whole Patriots offense with him. Julian Edelman has been nowhere to be found. James White put up 1 point this past week. The Patriots are now not even good. They might even trade Stephon Gilmore. And then over in Florida, Tampa Bay is having just an old dandy time, and everybody's coming to visit.
Tampa Bay.
Well, so far, Tom Brady was the magic sauce, and Bill Belichick was just kind of riding shotgun, because Tom Brady's really good, and he's 112 years old. I mean, and on top of that, they're getting Antonio Brown. I think the entire fantasy community was don't Tom Brady's not going to be fantasy relevant because everyone's, on the rushing quarterback hotness. But with this receiving core, I mean, it's almost impossible. I mean, it's absurd. So Tom Brady, legit, I would even consider trading for him if you're quarterback needy. I think that he still is kind of off that fantasy hotness trend, and they have a fantastic playoff schedule. Not something you should push super hard, but yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up is that the 49ers have just had their series of ups and downs this year. But as I've been saying, the coaching is too good. They have such a well-oiled machine there, and it looks like they're back on track to be a contender in the best division in the NFL.
Besides the NFC East.
Yeah, absolutely. But those are some fun takeaways, and let's get into some studs and duds. So we're going to talk and see, are these guys legit? Are they going to keep up this amazing production a la Tyler Lockett, 15 for 200 and 3 touchdowns, or, a little bit of a disappointment like Ezekiel Elliott with, you can count his fantasy points on one hand probably for the next few weeks. So let's get into that. Starting off with Tyler Lockett. I mean, before his huge week, 2 for 39 and 4 for 44. I mean, what can you expect going forward?
Well, I've always been very high on Tyler Lockett. I see him as just a guy who has an amazing rapport with Russell Wilson, and kind of he's going to go with that flow in terms of how Russell continues to throw. Oh, wow, that was 3 in a row.
Go with the flow. Russell Wilson going to throw.
But, I mean, right now, Russell Wilson is sustaining 2 top 10 wide receivers in terms of points per game. And when you have that type of weaponry on the outside, sometimes it's going to be up, sometimes it's going to be down, sometimes it's going to be your game, sometimes not. And I think Lockett's just someone that's going to be in your lineup all year. He's proven to be consistent in terms of year-end fantasy points, and those will be there. So I don't think – are they legit? I don't think he's a 203 guy ever again, but he's a great touchdown source and also a great deep ball source. So kind of you know what you're getting with him, and you're going to keep firing him up.
He's just set for it. It's
another
amazing.
Guy.
It's amazing the shift in Seattle's mentality from so run heavy to now so pass heavy. And a lot of that's because their running back room is decimated. But yeah, Tyler Lockett, just set it and forget it.
Yep.
Another guy who's had a lot of up and downs, Deontay Johnson, had another big week, 9 for 80 with 2 touchdowns on 15 targets. And we've just seen the Steelers receiver core really produce unlike anything anyone predicted, with Chase Claypool coming in, Juju not producing the third-round value that you drafted. Deontay Johnson, legit?
Yes.
100%, without a doubt.
100%. Just watch the injury bug because he didn't play the whole game and he had 15 targets. But so when he's out there,
that's my point. Yeah. We'll get into it later. I'm kind of worried about Deontay Johnson. When he's out there, he's great. I just saw an injury report today that he has a toe issue. Like, it's so young.
He's sat Wednesdays with a toe injury as a Deontay Johnson from the beginning, even when he was fully healthy. So I'm not worried about the toe. When he left last game, it was an ankle. He had a concussion earlier in the year. I don't think the toe will be an issue. They need him to be fully healthy. He's clearly their best receiver.
Though that was 3 different injuries already. This guy's young.
Within a week.
When he is on the field, obviously he's going to produce. But, I mean, I'm selling high, and I want to get him off my team. I don't want to have to deal with that. It's obviously about the value, but I'm not looking for him. DJ Moore, a guy who was drafted really high, 4 for 93 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, touchdowns are there finally.
I'm not buying into this one particularly. He's getting out-targeted by Robbie Anderson. He has one huge touchdown where the safety is like 20 yards away from him. He just runs straight and just blows by him. Obviously he's playing the Falcons this week, so that's a pretty good start. But, yeah, I'm not really buying this 4 catches, 2 touchdowns, one of which being like a 60-yard bomb where nobody's near him.
Yeah.
Still happening in real
same
life.
way. He's playing the Falcons. If he goes for a good game on the Falcons, I'm rushing to try and trade him if that's me. And I was a huge DJ Moore fan coming into this year. It's just you can't, in my opinion, I don't want to rely on guys who are getting 4 catches a game. You see how it goes the other way the first couple weeks of the season without the big 60-yard touchdown, which is partially skill, so you can't take that away from him. But I just don't want to rely on it. He's not an A.J. Brown type of talent, in my opinion, where that's something where I think could be sustainable.
A.J. Brown. Cole Beasley, 11 for 112. only one game under 10 fantasy points, and that was week 1. I mean, with John Brown out and even John Brown in, he's been great. Is this legit?
I don't understand it, but it makes a lot of sense. And John Brown, I don't know what his status is for this week. I don't think he's practicing, but he's kind of been phased out as that number 2 in Buffalo.
Dude, Cole Beasley is relevant every season in fantasy.
Yeah.
And he's
never drafted. He's always relevant. He's always going to be on your team at the end of the year. He's about
It'll
the
be
most.
It'll be interesting to see their involvement this week because John Brown did come back and practice today. I'm certainly buying Cole Beasley. Josh Allen needs a safety blanket underneath. But it'll be interesting to see with the 3 top receivers.
Yeah, and you're starting to see the entire offense kind of tone it down a little since Josh Allen his first 4 weeks were just explosions, and he hasn't been taking the deep shots as he was the first couple of weeks. And you want to see if that's maybe a defensive matchup type of thing, which could be definitely a thing, or is the offense shifting a little to the dink and dunk, which I don't think it is, but it's just something I've been noticing, and it definitely correlates with Cole Beasley getting more and more targets.
I think you should have a fine week this week against the Patriots. Here's a fun one. Another guy that the entire fantasy community was off, Robert Gronkowski, looks like he's getting back into football shape, shifting away from WWE shape, which is more just looks and muscle. 18 PPR points per game over the last 2 weeks. And look at these splits. Week 6, 5 for 8 for 78 yards and a touchdown. Week 7, 5 for 8 for 62 yards and a touchdown. If that's not consistency, I don't know what is. I mean, and with the tight end landscape, this guy seems legit. I mean, who is this guy? Robert Gronkowski?
Yeah, never heard of this little guy.
Yeah.
I wonder how much money he's making this year.
Hopefully not that much. Anyways, I feel like there's nothing else to say. He's got to be a roster. He's going to be started. Especially with the receivers going down, this guy this week, that guy next week. Yeah. But here's a fun one. A guy I just couldn't hype up enough last week. Justin Herbert. I was going to say the next Josh Allen, but he's looking like he might even be better. Maybe the next
Justin Herbert.
It's the next Justin Herbert. Awesome. I mean, he's an every week starter. And that schedule coming up is just
rest of season, is he a top 5 QB or a top 8-9 QB? Where'd you put him?
Neither.
Ooh.
What is he?
I'd put him top 8.
I think he's borderline top 12. I think he's really, really good, but rookies have this second half of their year, they cool off, people figure them out. The schedule's really good, but you never know. I mean, I believe in him. I think he's amazing talent, and I love watching him because he's one of those guys where they actually just let him let it rip. They're not protecting him. They're saying go out there and throw it as far as you can and see how it goes. And he does it, and it works. So I love watching it, but I think it's
I guess
hard to be sustainable.
Kieran, you're below 10. I'm above 10. Let's smack that on the wall.
Ooh. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Fine.
One more legit guy I want to bring up, not on the dock, is the Detroit Lions, baby. 3-3, 500, just having a stellar year. Beat one of the best receiver teams in the league, the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, who have just been scoring a lot of points this year. Are the Lions legit Super Bowl contenders?
All right, let me stop you right there, Noah. You wanna put me in a little slap it on the wall type of bet? Raiders are 3-3, Lions are 3-3. You want to slap it on the wall?
All right, moving on to duds of the week. We talked about Josh Allen, and I'm a little nervous about him. I have him in a lot of leagues. I just traded him away in one, which I guess is a good value for him. But is he going to be a top 5 quarterback? I mean, he was one of those top 3, such a solid guy for the first part of the season. But he's been third straight week under 20 fantasy points.
I think he'll be in that quarterback 5 to 8 range, sort of. I mean, they trust him to throw the ball. They really haven't tried to establish Singletary or Moss in any game. Last week, he got to the red zone so many times, and they just didn't score touchdowns. They attempted 8 field goals against the Jets. So part of that definitely is on Josh Allen, but there's definitely some progression coming.
Yeah, I'm worried about him. Mike Evans, 3 catches in the last 2 games. I think we're all on the same page here. He's going to have a great week this week, and then you ship him off for a guy like Tyler Boyd, maybe even like Deontay Johnson.
If you can.
Love that. Love both of those.
Yeah, if you
do
can.
Do that in a second.
Maybe it's a little too easy based off the feedback. Yeah. Jerry Jeudy, 2 for 20 and then 2 for 32 in the last 2 games. Those were against the Patriots and the Chiefs. I like Judy going forward. I mean, the Broncos have a pretty easy schedule going forward. They've had a tough past few weeks. I like the Broncos offense in general for the next 5 or 6. I think this is a buy low for me.
I don't know. I feel like he's a borderline droppable at this point. I don't even know if he should be owned in 10-team leagues.
Yeah,
It's one of those things. Yeah.
I don't really trust their quarterback play, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's one of those where if you buy into the second half rookie wide receiver, that happens every single year. I think he's the most or one of the most talented rookie wide receivers that's come out in a long time. So
he is the one.
Yeah.
No, so what I'm hearing is
watches.
in our PPR league, I have Jared Judy. You want to make a trade? So,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could give you maybe Keelan Cole. And then last one, a big one, Ezekiel Elliott. Without Dak Prescott, has had 12 and 6 fantasy points in the last 2 games. This has been the most highly contested player in fantasy football recently. Let's just go around the horn. Everyone can give their opinion. I'll start. I mean, I think I'm a sell. He has tough schedule coming up. I mean, if you can get a guy, I mean, we got to obviously compare him to somebody, but if you can get him for someone like James Conner, are you doing that?
Oh, geez.
I'm taking James Conner.
I'd probably keep Zeke just because I think James Conner's too fragile.
I feel like, I'd rather have Zeke.
Okay, what about
James Robinson?
I was going to say that next.
That's a good one.
I feel like they're pretty – I know Mike's not taking James Robinson.
I'm taking Robinson.
At this point, I'm like, shit.
I think I'm taking Robinson.
I think it's pretty close.
Any other thoughts on Zeke in general?
No.
I think you're in that. Yeah, you're in that muddy ground where you can't really do much with 12 and 6 fantasy points in the last 2 games. You either go get him or you hold on.
Let's get into some waivers. I got a lot of names, and it's mostly Drop City. J.K. Dobbins, Zach Moss, James White, Mike Williams. If those guys have just hit your waiver wires, I would go grab them if you have an extra spot. Lastly, some guy to just keep an eye on is Irv Smith. They've got him immediately involved into the passing game against Atlanta and Seahawks last 2 weeks, 8 for 10, 8 receptions, 10 targets, 109 yards. But I think that he might see an increased role going forward. The Vikings are one of the teams who need more pass catchers. The percent of targets going to Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen alone is like by far the highest concentration in the league for one team. So I think they could get Irv Smith going a little bit going forward. And then lastly is Derek Carr. I thought he had 25 points against Kansas City, 20 points against Tampa Bay, and listen to the schedule coming up. Cleveland, Chargers, Denver, Kansas City again, and he's a stud against Kansas City, right? Atlanta and the Jets, Derek Carr is going to be a legit streamer.
I do remember in our first episode, I said Derek Carr would be – it was like a top 12 or top 14. I said something stupid. But he's kind of close to there. We'll pull that up for some week.
That offense is making moves.
Yeah, tagging off that, Nelson Aguilar. We talked about him when he first started getting some work in. He looks super good. He scored each of the last 3 weeks. He had 9 targets this past week. His last 3 games, he's had 14, and 21 fantasy points. And he just looks like this is what people wanted Bryan Edwards to be. And Bryan Edwards is unfortunately hurt. And he can catch the ball for some reason now. I don't understand it. So, I don't know. I really like him. And Corey Davis, if he's on your waivers, every game he's played this year, he's had double-digit fantasy points. Obviously, he had COVID, so he was out. But, I mean, last week he came in and he put up another good game, had another touchdown. So, I like Corey Davis.
Yeah, for me, a couple of guys that might have been dropped due to IR designations. Something Noah touched on a couple weeks back is, keep an eye out for those, some diamond in the roughs that are low on the waiver priority because they were on the IR. Tevin Coleman. We touched on the Niners earlier, and I think they're one of the teams which is kind of a blessing for fantasy. The system is what makes the player good, and it's kind of just next man up. Whoever's there, you start him, they're going to be great. And Tevin Coleman has the opportunity to do that for the next couple of weeks with Jeff Wilson Jr., McKinnon's always getting a little dinged up, Mostert's out. So keep your eye out. Go grab him. Gus Bus for the same type of reason. That's, Mark Ingram has a high ankle sprain. It's him and a rookie. Gus always kind of gets it done. So that's another depth piece at running back. And then Dallas Goedert, I think, is really going to be a league winner towards the end of the year. So just check to make sure if on IR, Zach Ertz has been horrible and he's injured. So,
I like
Carson Wentz loves to throw it to the tight end.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love that Goddard play. I got a couple of lower end wide receivers. First one, not so much, but Scotty Miller, I think, is due for a big week. You'll hear a lot about him later in this show. But Godwin's already out. Antonio Brown's not coming back this week. Mike Evans is going to have to deal with Bradbury. They may not have to throw the ball that much against the Giants, but I think Scotty Miller is going to be the guy there. Darnell Mooney, solely for the opportunity, and that Allen Robinson is in the concussion protocol right now. And if Allen Robinson's out, it's Darnell Mooney who's going to get those targets.
Darnell Mooney looks pretty good.
And he does look good. They keep throwing him the ball. And a very off-the-radar guy. He's on the Jets, so probably disregard. But Denzel Mims made his debut last week, and he got the team high at 7 targets. I think he had over 70% snap share. Jamison Crowder's always hurt. He could be a guy that you could potentially plug in if you really need a deep flex. Say you're in a 14-team league, maybe. Let it weeks. No one's thinking about adding Denzel Mims. Keep that name in mind.
I like that. Let's get into some trade targets. I'll start it off. Here's a fun one. The Steelers defense. It's the number 1 defense in the league. If you have good depth, listen to this schedule. Baltimore, Dallas, Cincinnati, Jacksonville, Baltimore, Washington, and then the playoffs, Buffalo, Cincinnati, and the Colts. I mean, they're already the best team. I would pay up for Steelers as a differentiator. I think they can win you a championship. And then about week 5, when I look at my 1-4 teams and I say, yeah, I'm going to make the playoffs. I start to look at the playoff schedules, and 2 guys I am targeting for the playoffs is Lamar Jackson, who has a really tough schedule coming up. But if you have a good record right now, and you can take a little bit of a hit for the next few weeks, his playoff schedule is fantastic. Another one, David Montgomery, Houston, Minnesota, and Jacksonville in the playoffs. I love him as a guy that's been real boring recently. You can trade a depth piece for him probably, and he's going to probably put up 15 a game in the playoffs.
All right. I don't mean to beat the horse dead here, but Travis Fulgham, let's just keep bringing him up so you keep remembering this guy's name. This guy's good, and he's playing the Cowboys this week. I mean, come on. It's the Cowboys. And he gets to play the Cowboys one more time after this. The Cowboys suck.
What do you guys think about Jalen Reagor, though, coming in?
I don't think he really will take anything from him. I think he'll more be in that Greg Ward role, and Travis Fulgham will be on the other side. Alshon Jeffrey coming back, that could pose some troubles if everybody's healthy. Maybe that's just a little too many mouths to feed. Yeah, why don't we get some Eagle talk from our resident Eagle fan?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jalen Reagor should be rostered in every league. He's the first-round pick. They want to get him involved. He had, first 2 weeks when he was healthy. He's coming back, and Wentz has got to be excited about this kid. I mean, we have Ertz out. Those old farts, Alshon and Deshaun. Woo, got it. Are not going to be relevant. So, yeah. How about that other guy, Justin Jefferson? Why Justin Jefferson, Jared?
Justin Jefferson is because the Vikings suck so much that they're going to have to be throwing the ball all the time. And it's one of the reasons why I don't really like Dalvin Cook is because he's probably not going to be getting more than 15 rushes a game because they're going to be down so much all the time, which means they're going to be passing, and they want to get their rookie wide receiver involved. There's no need to not be feeding the ball. He's got multiple years left on his contract, nothing to worry about. So just feed Justin Jefferson the ball.
I don't know. He's like the number 7 right now in points per game. I don't know if you're going to be able to trade for him.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to trade for him, but I can jump into mine real quickly. Similar to my Gus argument, Dobbins, I feel like, is either on waivers or on the end of his leash, kind of with some teams. Just take a flyer on. It won't take much to get him, and he's got some upside. I don't think he's a play right now, but it'll be nice to have him come playoff time. Josh Jacobs and Kenny Golladay are 2 players that I think were drafted really high and I think are supremely talented players that have disappointed a little bit. Kenny G, because of injury, he's coming back and he's looked solid, hasn't had the touchdowns that we hope, but I think he's going to turn it around. He was drafted as a top 5 guy, and same with Josh Jacobs, drafted as a top 8 running back. So if you can get him on a discount, I would recommend it.
like those. I'm going to be quick with mine. I'm buying high on the Bengals wide receivers, and in particular Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins, because their schedule going forward is very easy, especially their playoff schedule. They're going to be in a lot of games, and they're going to have to be throwing the ball. And Joe Burrow can sling it. I mean, he's thrown for 300 passing yards in like 5 straight, whatever that stat is. And T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd are just really good. And for me, Jonathan Taylor is going to be the MVP of the second half of the season. They've already said it. They're coming fresh off of a bye. The offensive coordinator has said that he's ready to actually take the reins. And if that rings true, he's going to be a stud in the second half of the year. I mean, he's been way more efficient with his touches than Naeem Hines and Jordan Wilkins. So the Colts should set him free. And then Allen Robinson, just like Kenny Golladay, was drafted highly. That hasn't quite performed to that level, but his schedule going forward is very easy in terms of secondaries he's going to be facing. So he may be banged up. He might even miss this week, so the owner might panic. And last one, I talked about him last week. I don't think Myles Gaskin gets the respect he should get. He's been very steady. He's been a better version of David Johnson in terms of getting 14 to 16 fantasy points over the last few weeks, and he's only getting more and more touches. With Tua, they're going to try to get him even more involved. So those are the guys I'm looking out for.
I like that. All right, and let's get into some trade away. We'll get through these quick. Colts D. They've had an easy schedule at the beginning of the season, and they have a hard schedule going forward. Get them off your team. Maybe, get ready for this, maybe you could trade away the Colts D and maybe a little J.K. Dobbins, or maybe a little, I don't know, or Yavi, you don't want to be trading away J.K. Dobbins. You get it, that a player that caliber for Steelers D. I got Deontay Johnson. I mean, it depends on the value, but I just don't want to be dealing with the injury. And then Zeke, I think, is a sell. And then lastly, Antonio Gibson. Okay, they were ahead of the Cowboys all day. They won't be ahead in most games like they were. He had 0 targets. McKissick is stealing all the targets there. He's a sell this week for me. Kieran, let me know if you want him in our California League. I'll trade him for him and someone else for Julio or AJ. I don't care. Hey, quick on-show trade offer. Antonio Gibson and Diggs for Julio.
Oof. I need running back. I'm starting Le'Veon Bell and
you offered that trade to me before, and now I'm like thinking maybe.
Yeah, well, let me think about it. Let's not waste the viewers' time with my thought process.
You're a wimp. You couldn't pull the trigger on the show. Let's keep it going.
All right, I got Juju Smith-Schuster. He finally had a good-ish game. Obviously didn't get the touchdown, but 14 targets, 9 catches, 84 yards. The last 3 games, he didn't have more than 5 targets in all 3 of them. So I think now's the perfect time to sell him. They're not going to be in shootouts with the Titans every week. Good time to get him off your team.
I can quickly say mine. I don't have too many, but against Noah, I mean, I can see why if you're going to have a really good record, you could trade it for Lamar, but his schedule coming up is pretty rough. And if you drafted him, you paid up to get him. So you're probably in a little bit of a bind unless you drafted well at the end of the round. So if you need to trade him for wins now, you just got to keep in mind the goal of fantasy football is to get to the playoffs, not to preserve your best players for the playoffs if you're not going to make it there. So assess your own situation, figure out, do you need wins now, and don't get attached to his last year's production because he's not throwing the same. 2 wide receiver names quickly. Claypool, I think, is really attached to the opportunity he's given. So he's not one of those guys who's game script proof. If Deontay Johnson is out there, you saw he wasn't very involved. So if someone's in love with that 4 touchdown game or wants the upside, like we say, look for the value, see if you can upgrade there. And then Amari Cooper, still getting tons of targets. But I don't know about that one just because I don't know about the value. But if you can trade him, I would.
Yeah, mine's easy. We talked about him earlier. It's Mike Evans. In the 4 games Chris Godwin has played, he's obviously hurt right now. Evans has 12 total targets in those 4 games. They're adding in Antonio Brown. Gronk's only becoming more involved. If you can trade Mike Evans, I don't know what his value is right now. I'd give him for a bag of chips.
Okay.
All right.
Sweet. Let's get into some preview of next week. We have Washington, Arizona, Houston, Jacksonville on bye. We're going to start off with Thursday Night Football. The Falcons at the Panthers. I guess the Falcons are going to be ahead most of the game, and then the Panthers are going to come back in the end and just throw it to DJ Moore and do good. But But seriously, guys, one thing I want to talk about today is we got to put some respect on the Todd Gurley, because another guy that everyone in the fantasy community loved to throw. This guy's old. This guy's washed. He is tied for the most rushing touchdowns with 7. He is second in rush attempts and 6 in rush yards. So you kind of get why, he's not that crazy efficient. But I feel like he's kind of like Mixon. He's getting this crazy volume. He can't really find the end zone that often. But 8th in PPR right now in points. I mean, I feel like he might even be a trade target if you can. But if you can capitalize, I mean, such great volume. If you can capitalize on him being a boring fantasy player, I like it. Here's a fun one.
I think he's one of those guys where if you drafted him, you were probably like, I'd have Todd Gurley, and you're just excited that you have that value. But he's not one of those guys where I'm trying to trade for him and be like, yay, I have Todd Gurley now. I think that's like the exact situation I am with him, is if I have him, I'm happy, and I'm not going to get him.
Noah, as a Zeke seller, would you sell Zeke to get Todd Gurley?
Oh, Jesus.
No. What? You're thinking about this?
I'm gonna do Zeke. Yeah, Zeke.
I bet he wish he didn't tie for the league in touchdowns right now, though.
Hey,
I can't believe that.
Pretty much. And then let's get Matt Ryan. Okay, Matt Ryan against the Panthers' decent passing, or Teddy Bridgewater against the worst passing defense in the league.
You got to go Teddy.
I think Matt Ryan.
I'm going Matt Ryan.
Oh, smack it on the wall.
Smack it on the wall.
Ow.
Wow.
Just quickly for some listeners who might be in the situation, if CMC is active for the game, are we still playing Mike Davis, flexing Mike Davis?
He's not going to be active for the game. So that's we don't need to.
Oh, it's already been declared?
Like, it's almost certain. But yeah, okay. Mike Davis might be a deep league flex, but probably not.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Vikings, Packers. Aaron Jones still unsure if he's going to start. So, I mean, Jamal Williams did an incredible job filling in. You have to love it if he's out. Jamal Williams is, top 12 back this week probably. And then, Devontae Adams. I mean, what else is there to say about Devontae Adams? Adam Thielen.
He has 2 40-plus point games.
Devontae Adams Thielen.
He's like top 5, and he's missed like 3 games.
Literally.
Yeah, he's really good. I would watch out for Adam Thielen this week. I think he will have a good week, but Jair Alexander, the corner for Green Bay, has been a lockdown corner. Yeah. So I'm hoping that he's shadowing Thielen, and then Justin Jefferson might be able to squeak deep touchdowns.
I wonder how they're going to play that, because both Thielen and Jefferson can play outside. They can play in the slot. I wonder how Jair is going to play, if he's going to shadow one.
It'll be interesting to see.
Very interesting.
It is like, who is the best receiver on the Vikings?
Adam Thielen. He has a touchdown every game he's played.
Yeah, it's probably Adam Thielen. But pretty soon it'll be Jefferson.
I'm interested in just to watch this decimation happen. It's the Jets versus the Chiefs. It is Bell's revenge game. I wouldn't be surprised to see Le'Veon Bell score a touchdown.
That's true.
Maybe even 2. I could see Andy Reid putting him in there just so he scores against the Jets. Not much needs to be talked about here, except P. Ryan finally did get the majority of the snaps and touches. He played 72% of the snaps. He did score, which lifted his value last week, but I just don't think the Jets are going to be in enough games where he actually is getting the ball that much. But he's someone that could have a decent amount of volume.
You said finally, as if we've been waiting and praying and begging for LaMichael P. Ryan to get 72% of the snaps to run for 2.4 a carry.
Guys, what do you think the spread for this game is?
Oh my gosh, it's got to be.
I want to guess.
I'm guessing 16.
17.
20.
It's 19.5.
That's
hammer the over. Hammer the over.
Wow.
It's a 48-point over-under. 19.5. That is – I mean, it's not even bad. I would actually take the Jets in that one, I think.
Yeah. I mean, they lose to the Bills by like 7?
8.
Yeah, I'd take the Jets.
It's hard to lose by –
Actually, no. It's the Chiefs, man. I'm taking the Chiefs. Does Le'Veon Bell have this big revenge game? Does he get it done?
No, but he scores a touchdown.
Yeah, I think for sure going to get him in the goal line.
Yeah, I think he worked this into his contract with whoever he signed with, was you have to let me just go berserk in this one game and then I can settle in.
Yeah. Hey, but they might lose if they bench CEH. I mean, who knows?
Do you guys want to talk about Bell versus CEH going forward, or I think they're both great plays. I mean, CEH is still a great play, and Bell, if you need to, kind of a break glass if you need.
Yeah, CEH I'm worried about. I mean, obviously just going to need to decrease his ceiling a ton. But I think he's still like a very solid low-end RB2, mid RB2. Yeah.
Okay, I think we can move on there. Another matchup in a divisional game, Patriots versus Bills. I'll be interested to watch this to see if the Patriots can turn it around. And also, the Bills have been waiting so many years to just take a shot at the Patriots and finally land on top. So I'm really excited for this game. I do think Cam is going to turn it around for this game. I think it'll be an interesting game. I don't think it'll be
so excited for this one.
No touchdown game. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts?
I don't want to watch this at all.
I want to watch this because this is such an important fantasy game, because these are two teams that started the season off really hot and then just fallen off, made a complete 180 in the past few weeks. And this could really be telling, especially, because they're divisional rivals, or, I don't know how much they've been rivals over the past decade or two. But yeah, I'm excited for this one.
Are you even starting?
No, absolutely not.
I wouldn't start Cam unless you need to. But I think no Patriots skill players are need to be started.
I think you can start James White. You can start James White.
I would not start James White. He had one target and one carry last week. I'm not interested in that.
I still think you can start it. What?
Bills. Jared, what do you got for us? Because I'm watching that game.
Okay, yeah. The matchup of the week, the Steelers and the Ravens. We've talked about all these Steelers receivers enough. Not much to say. This is perfect to watch as just a football fan. Definitely the game of the week. I'm going with the Steelers in this game. Definitely.
Absolutely.
And
I'll take the Ravens.
I think it'll be at least a touchdown win too for the Steelers.
At least? Are you?
Yeah,
I'll take the spread there. I'll take the spread.
This Steelers defense is
3.5 point spread.
This Steelers defense is insane.
The Titans in the second half, they shredded.
The Titans are good.
So
Titans are the Titans are the number one offense in the NFL right now.
I don't think the Ravens have proven to be
the juice. Want to hear something crazy about the Ravens? They have had points scored in every quarter they've played this season.
Wow, that's just crazy.
I don't think the Patriots have scored in the first quarter of a game this season. The Ravens have scored in every quarter.
That is crazy, Jared.
Wait, did you say the Ravens have scored or been scored on in every quarter?
Have scored in every quarter. Why would that be less surprising or more surprising?
I don't know.
Okay, let's get into fun one. Rams versus Dolphins. We're going to see Tua's premiere to the NFL. And why against the Rams? Why against Aaron Donald? I mean, welcome to the NFL, kids. Slap him in the face. And I mean, Jesus. In terms of Gaskin, I think is a low-end RB2. Devontae Parker, asking for a friend. Do I start Devontae Parker or Mike Williams?
Devontae Parker.
Mike
Williams had one catch this week.
But Devontae Parker against Jalen Ramsey in Tua's first game,
Or any other option? I don't want to start either of them.
I think Mike Williams is a fine start.
Yeah, well, let me go check real quick. We'll come back to it. But another thing, Preston Williams now with Tua is droppable. Okay, let's see. We got Mike Williams or Devontae Parker or Jalen Reagor. That's an interesting
Mike Williams. I would start Mike Williams. I think he's a boomer bust guy, and he busted last week, and he boomed the week before. So take your pick.
All right. I like it.
You love Herbert.
Especially for the two on the show here, Raiders and Browns. It's actually a pretty high-profile matchup. Browns looking pretty good.
Crazy.
Did lose Odell. Without Odell, I think Rashard Higgins ran a route on every single one of Baker's dropbacks. It was some weird stat like that. He's going to be clearly involved. Donovan Peoples-Jones had that great touchdown at the end of last game. Honestly, don't think Jarvis Landry gets that big of a lift. He has not been able to make an impact this year. I think the Browns are just going to spread it out. Obviously, Hooper's still hurt, but I think when Hooper's back, they can maybe have him and Bryant playing two tight end sets, give them some more bump. I just think it's collective across the board and not everything going to Jarvis Landry.
Yeah, let me just say real quick for everyone out there, get the Sleeper app. Last week, I was, you doing your last-minute DFS switches. I got a notification from the Sleeper app. Harrison Bryant going to be the starter over David Njoku, and I put him in all my DFS lineups. Ends up with 2 touchdowns, and I won $7. Let's go.
Ooh.
I do think one thing to note. I think one thing to note about this is when Odell's not there, Jarvis has always been a very solid, not flashy, but very good wide receiver asset to have. So he is playing with broken ribs or something of that nature. So I would keep that in mind. I can see why he's not producing that well, but I would keep your eye on him. I think he could have a big game, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Then on the Raiders side, Josh Jacobs has been pretty inconsistent. They obviously had a bye a couple weeks ago. So I think it's, like Kieran said, could be someone you're looking to target. I expect this bounce back week for the Raiders offense. I expect this to be a pretty high scoring game. I think Waller's going to have a big game. Ruggs could catch a deep pass touchdown. But I think Josh Jacobs is going to have a much more normal game this week.
Ruggs or Aguilar going forward rest of the season?
Aguilar.
Ruggs.
Ooh.
I'm Aguilar.
Ruggs has been injured. He's getting back off the hamstring. He's going to get more involved.
It's so interesting. They're such similar style players.
Ruggs has the highest passer rating when targeted in the NFL right now.
He just doesn't get targeted.
But Derek Carr always has those weird deep ball stats that don't translate to wins.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Hey, we're getting through it. Let's move on.
3-3.
Okay.
The Lions are 3-3, man. Come on.
We've had a really tough schedule. I don't want to hear it. Okay, so the 49ers versus the Seahawks. I'm just
big game.
They can be.
This is my game of the week.
To be hungover after Halloween. To get out of bed, get on the couch, and just watch like 10 straight amazing games is going to be just exquisite. Okay, so 49ers, Seahawks. Debo and Jeff Wilson Jr. are going to be out multiple weeks. Another soft tissue issue. McKinnon last week was slated to be the starter, and who knows what happened. So I don't know if I would personally trust McKinnon this week with Hasty. Jeff Wilson looked like he almost broke his ankle in the third quarter. And then McKinnon, who'd been active, didn't get any of the work. Hasty immediately came in and got the work.
Quick question. This is for mainly Jared and Mike. So Kieran right here, he was a high school basketball phenom, best player at our school, led us to the playoffs. If Kieran is plugged into he's an athlete, basically. If Kieran is plugged into the 49ers backfield, does he produce? I mean, because anyone they put in there is just making it happen.
Kieran's a pretty nice guy, so.
And that's what matters.
That translates to NFL running backs, as we've seen. So I'm gonna go.
The age-old
I think
Justin
he's a decent
Jackson
flex
versus
play.
Joshua Kelly, nice guy debate.
Decent flex play, second half of the season for Kieran. More involved.
Decent flex play.
I'm gonna just say now we've been having because we talked. Kieran knows Joshua Kelly; he's one of his good friends, and Jared's sister knows Justin Jackson, who's also one of her good friends.
And 16.
What
are you talking about?
Who knew Justin Jackson? Oh, that's so embarrassing.
My sister.
Point being, we have direct connections to both these guys.
Yeah.
We should just have them on the show and have the people decide who is nicer. Yeah. Because we had talked about it last week. Who was nicer? Maybe we could tweet at both of them. If one responds, that could settle it.
I sent him the link tree.
We'll figure it out. What are you guys doing with this Seahawks backfield? It seems like everybody is basically injured. Not basically, everybody is injured. They have DJ Dallas left on the roster who blew a pass blocking assignment, basically that almost cost them the game, or did end up costing them the game on Sunday Night Football last week. They're
really
just avoiding this backfield or playing whoever. Yeah, that's what
people were so hype about Carlos Hyde. I got a text in one of my leagues. How the hell did you let me get Carlos Hyde, everybody? And I was like, because I don't think he's going to do that good this week. Even if Carlos Hyde is in, there's no reason why he's going to be the bell cow. I mean, they're going to split it with DJ Dallas. He's going to get some carries. And I think the 49ers are going to keep up, and they're going to be needing to pass the ball too. That defense is looking not as good as it was last year, but decent. So I'm not really excited about the Seahawks running game. You're obviously firing up the passing options and Russ.
Yeah. All right. Bucks, Giants.
Another crazy classic. Oh my God, the Bucks and the Giants.
Chris Godwin, broken finger. I saw Bruce Arians say he's not optimistic it's going to be only 1 week. It could be – I feel like this is a 2-week injury, maybe 3 at the most. So, obviously, Evans and Scotty Miller should shoulder the load this week. Antonio Brown can't play till next week. But more importantly, the Bucs backfield, Leonard Fournette actually had a good game, and he can actually catch the ball. That one thing Jacksonville did good was they taught him how to catch the ball in his final year. And Ronald Jones can't catch anything. He sucks.
I'm worried about this because, dude, Ronald Jones, 3 games with 100 yards in a row. And, I mean, I was saying before, like, this is just a bad coaching decision. How can you stop this? I mean, they're ahead of the Raiders by a lot, so it didn't really matter that much. But listen to this. Fournette led in snaps 38-31, routes run 21-13, rushes 13-11, and targets, here's a big one, 7-2, like Jared was saying.
That's the big one.
Fournette finished the game with 17 touches. I have Ronald Jones in multiple leagues. I just traded for Ronald Jones in a league, and I am actually not that worried about Ronald Jones.
I think they're both,
I think Fournette's a sell high. I mean, there's no reason, just because Fournette has a bigger name, that there's no reason why,
It's just the passing game. And Leonard Fournette is actually good at catching balls. And Ronald Jones really is not good at catching. And when Tom Brady loves to dump the ball off.
I mean, who do you want rest of the season? It's.
I don't know.
How do you say I don't know? It's totally Ronald Jones.
I don't know. I mean, all this tells me is that it's just this team is a Brady team. It's unpredictable. Someone's going to be here. Someone's going to be there. It's whoever's open gets the ball. It's whoever is performing at that time gets the ball. 300-yard rush games in a row and you haven't earned the backfield just shows that I don't want to be, relying on Ronald Jones come playoff time on my roster.
Yeah. It's weird because that was a rushing game script and they're just like, whatever.
Brady just wanted to pile on the stats.
Bruce Arians does not care about
he destroyed us.
He already said that with his wide receivers. Don't complain about snap counts and targets and catches.
So rude of him to not care about fantasy, honestly. Let's get into America's favorite segment. Before we do that, you can follow us on Twitter at Dudes Football and many other places where a podcast and YouTube show can be found. Dude of the week, this is definitely our best Dude Dud week so far. I smacked the competition with Justin Herbert, 38.48 points. Michael demolished everybody with DJ Moore, 2 tuds, 23.3 half PBR points. Jared dominated with 22.24 from Tyler Boyd. And Kieran succeeded with Gio Bernard, 18.1. Dud of the week, I also did really well. Kenyon Drake, 4.6 half PPR, but obviously that injury is going to be tough. Hopefully it's better. Michael, Derrick Henry, so we'll give it to you.
He was held 75 the game. And
75 yards and a touchdown. That is a disappointing Derrick Henry game if I've ever seen one. Jared, Juju, that's a no from me, dog. And then Kieran, Josh Jacobs, 4.6 half PBR points. I think we went like 7.5 for 8. Like,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, great week.
I get like a 15 out of 10 there, so I pick up the slack from you guys. No worries. Don't worry about it.
Let's do it again. Why not? Starting off with my dude of the week, Darrell Henderson versus Miami. It was sad to see Darrell Henderson not get that touchdown last week or earlier this week on the Monday Night Football game. But I think that the Rams are ahead all day, and I think Darrell Henderson has one of his patented 120 total yard games, maybe a touchdown or two as well. Because, that's why. Because I don't like Malcolm Brown can go back to home.
Okay.
Who you got, Mike?
Scotty Miller for me, and it's easy. Godwin's already out. Antonio Brown's not there this week. And Mike Evans is going to deal with a very underrated cornerback in James Bradbury. I think Scotty Miller's going to eat this week.
Rashard Higgins or Scotty Miller this week?
Rashard Higgins.
Huh.
Slap it on the wall.
Nice.
All right, I'm going Travis Fulgham. Sorry. I have to. I hate the Cowboys.
Okay.
Cowboys are so bad.
Yeah, I mean, play your Eagles. This is your time your time in the sun. I'm going to go with Brandon Ayuk. No Deebo Samuel, playing against Seattle, and he's involved in both the passing game and the rushing game. So he's going to be involved, and I like players who know they manipulate touches to make sure he's involved. So I'm excited about that play. We can get into some of our duds of the week. I'll start it off. I guess maybe not, as that seemed to be too easy, but I'm saying any Baltimore running back that is playing, if that's Mark Ingram, Gus Bus, Dobbins.
Okay, so if Ingram doesn't play, do you think Gus and Dobbins both have bad weeks?
Yes.
I think they probably have one touchdown between the three of them this week.
Yeah, who knows? I got Stephon Diggs versus Stephon Gilmore. I don't like, the number one guy versus the Patriots always gets shut down. And I'm worried about Diggs this week. That's my dud.
I'm going back into the well.
Don't say it.
More confident in it.
Don't say it. No!
It's Mark Andrews plus, or it's Mark Andrews 4 and below, and he plays the Steelers, who Jonnu Smith didn't really run routes because he had to protect Tannehill with his life. So I think Mark may be in more – he doesn't block that much, but he may be in more blocking situations, and I just think the Steelers do a very good job shutting down the tight end. I don't like Mark Andrews.
He's going to get 3 catches. It's either 2 touchdowns or no touchdowns.
Yeah.
So it's going to be that.
I'm going with David Montgomery. I really think David Montgomery is easily benchable in non-plus matchups, and the Saints have the 4th best rush defense this year in terms of yards allowed. David Montgomery, they don't score very much for the Bears, and he has 1 touchdown this year. This isn't a guy that is guaranteed anything. There's a good chance he has under 50 yards in this game. Would not start him this week.
All right. And with that, let's get into our DFS. We had a crazy week with I finally put some time into my DFS lineup and won 180.5. Michael, is that the highest in the season? Probably. Yeah, that's what I thought.
I'm far behind it. Hey, give me some credit.
Okay, well, look at me hopping into 3rd place, no longer last place. Sorry, Jared, that's where you belong. But Michael still up top at 13-5, Kieran at 10-8, Noah at 7-11, and Jared at 6-12. Let's get into the lineups this week. Mike, who you got?
Well, I took Jared's advice and put a screenshot in there this time, and Jared is a very similar team, I'm realizing. Joe Burrow, a lot of common threads in terms of one particular game. Joe Burrow, Jonathan Taylor, Kareem Hunt, Cole Beasley, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, love doubling up on the Bengals. Jonnu Smith, Myles Gaskin, the Bills D.
Wow, we have really similar teams. I'll just go next. I'm also stacking Bengals against the Titans. I also have Kareem Hunt against the Raiders and Jonathan. I got Burrow, Hunt, Taylor, Tyler Boyd, Nelson Aguilar. I have AJ Green though instead. Jonnu Smith, Derrick Henry, and the Dolphins D. I think the Dolphins D this week is.
How did you afford that lineup?
AJ Green is cheap. Nelson Aguilar is
cheap.
Joe Burrow's decently cheap. Dolphins are decently cheap.
I might have to. Okay.
Yeah, AJ Green was like 4,200. He was so cheap this week.
Yeah.
I got Jimmy
really, really cheap.
Garoppolo, Derrick Henry, Kareem Hunt, Devontae Adams, Brandon Ayuk, Tyler Boyd, Irv Smith, Marcus Johnson, and the Dolphins D.
Noah took the Kieran approach and just shell out and then have one absolute scrub at the bottom.
Oh, Marcus Johnson over 100 yards last week against the Lions' poorest secondary.
Welcome horns, man.
I'll finish with mine. Got Derek Carr coming in at the quarterback position. Never feeling too confident about that, but I'm liking it this week, hopefully. Alvin Kamara, Kareem Hunt, Devontae Adams, Keenan Allen, Brandon Ayuk, Harrison, I believe is his first name, Bryant, and then Denzel Mims and Miami defense.
Wow. It does check out. Jared was able to hit it on the dot with his lineup.
Did you really go and you think I would cheat?
Noah raised a concern.
We're so happy that you guys can collaborate and just work together to create your lineups. Because
I'm really in shock at how similar these lineups are.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Bengals and Titans are a great shootout.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's been episode week 8 of Guys Being Dudes. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can follow us on Twitter at Dudes Football and YouTube and iTunes and Spotify. And much love from the people. Sweet.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.